Time now for an in-depth look at the market news this afternoon, and for that I'm joined on the line by Dr. Kim Sei-wan, professor of economics at Ewha Womans University. Professor Kim, good afternoon. Thank you for coming on today.
Good afternoon, Devin.
Well, let's start with Wall Street, where it was a bit of a mix overnight. Tech shares took a hit, which brought the Nasdaq down about 1.3%, also holding back the S&P, but for the Dow, it was another record high. What's the story in the global markets?
As U.S. investors understand recent manufacturing and labor data in a positive way, stocks in economically sensitive sectors, including energy, financials, and manufacturing, advanced on Tuesday. But the technology segment declined on the same day due to concerns on higher interest rates. It is something well-known fact that high-tech stocks are more sensitive on interest rate changes. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.6%, but the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite dropped by 1.3% on Tuesday. The manufacturing recovery and improved labor market also lifted up Eurozone markets. London, Paris, and Frankfurt markets all advanced over 0.8% in a single day yesterday.
Well, today the KOSPI and the KOSDAQ were both down sharply. Only a few of the big names posting a gain, like the big car makers and, interestingly, LG Chem again. It seems like a lot of retail investors were buying the dip today, though. Tell us about the domestic market.
Domestic markets dropped in a larger scale today as stronger social distancing restrictions go on. The majority of investors are betting that domestic expenditure and investments are not much recovering until the spring of this year. Also, interest rate hikes by Bank of Korea and U.S. Fed sooner or later are negatively reflected in current market. KOSPI lost by 1.2%, and KOSDAQ also retreated by 2.1% today. Today's declines are led by foreign investors and institutional investors who net sold together about 1,676 billion won in KOSPI and KOSDAQ markets combined. The top 20 largest cap stocks all dropped today except LG Chemical, Hyundai Motor, Kia Motor, Hyundai Mobis, and POSCO.
And looking back at 2021, Professor, it was a landmark year in trade for Korea, with exports coming to $640 billion. In fact, more than that, new record. Trade in general at a new high, too. But there are some variables in the new year, including Omicron, of course, also tensions between the U.S. and China. What's your outlook on the trade front?
According to Korea Customs Service, Korea's export in last year exceeded $640 billion, which is larger than 2018's annual record in history. Basically, strong export performances in major export items like semiconductors, ships, electric vehicles, batteries, and displays such as OLEDs all contributed much to gain this goal. If we take a look at the location of these items in global markets, the share of Korean memory chip is about 60%. Korea ranked fifth globally in auto exports last year. Also, Korea is the second largest exporter of chips. Korea ranks second in sales of global batteries for electric vehicles. It has also number one market share position globally in smartphones, TV sets, and OLED panels. It is expected that current export momentum can continue for this year, but there could be unexpected downturns in exports due to this delayed economic recoveries related to coronavirus variants, U.S.-China conflicts, and geopolitical matters.
Right, and now a more domestically focused issue. Finance Minister Hong Nam-gi says the housing market in Korea is stabilizing, meaning prices are coming down, of course, and he attributes that to the government's strict rules on lending, also higher taxes and so on. If that's the case, what's happening in the market, and could this be a lasting trend?
Korean Finance Minister said Wednesday that Korea's housing market has been stabilizing with home prices, not just in Seoul, but also in many other local areas, on downward trend on higher taxes and stricter lending rules. He further added that the recent downturn trends comes after the government adopted dozens of measures to curb skyrocketing home prices. It is true that the housing market, housing prices are stabilized a little bit, but we need to take more time whether housing prices are set to the downturn because the supply of new apartments is not enough yet in major and popular regions, including Seoul. Good news is that the government plans to provide an average of 560,000 homes each year until 2030. But again, since this housing supply project takes longer time in next government, we need to wait and see how domestic housing market develops.
And now, the impact of strict social distancing here in Korea, reintroduced last month by the government, is taking a major toll on small merchants, especially. We can see business slowing down at the country's traditional markets, too, for example. Tell us about the impact of these measures and what might be done to help those feeling the impact.
As a stronger social distancing is enforced from December last year, small business owners' business sentiment worsened for December last year. The Business Sentiment Index, or BSI, for local small business owners came to 39.3 for December last year, down from 66.2 for the previous month, according to the data from Small Business Promotion Agency. The index measures small business owners' prospects for business conditions in the following months. A reading below 100 means pessimist outnumber optimist. The BSI actually has been on the rise after July of last year, but the figure dropped in the largest scale in December due to stronger quarantine and seasonal factors, such as potentially less activity during the winter season. These small business owners covers the largest part of the whole labor market. So as we talked about many times earlier, there should be stronger and more tailored support on these hardest hit people by the pandemic.
Indeed. All right, Professor, we'll have to leave it there for today. Thank you, as always, for sharing your insights with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.